Good evening, folks. Welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. It's time for a full-time reaction to Midtjylland 2, Celtic 1 in Denmark as Celtic crash out of the Champions League for another year. Martin and Scott are with me tonight to talk through the game. You can ask your questions in the live chat box below, but you have to be subscribed to comment. So if you haven't already, click the red subscribe button below. Martin, we'll start with you tonight, mate. What did you make of that 120 minutes that you watched?
120 minutes tonight. I thought first half it was similar to the game at Celtic Park, where it felt like we were a better team. They hadn't created much at all. Felt like they were happy just to be in the tie. They weren't pushing for a goal. That I think they'd only had two shots, or one shot. It was 1-0 after one shot on target over the two games at that point. So at half time I was relatively content. Felt we had enough chances in the first half to be ahead in the game, and were we going to rue our chances. And then in the second half, got the goal, wonder goal, delighted with that. And then I'm sure we'll talk about it, but we didn't take the chance that we had. Forrest had when he came on, he brought a bit of life into the game. And then just that sucker punch with the equaliser. And Paul, after that, I didn't feel that confident. I thought they grew in the game. They finished the game the stronger team. They had a really good chance in the second minute injury time in the 90 minutes, which they should have taken. It was a sitter. Then in extra time, I didn't feel confident at all at any point in extra time from the word go. And then once the goal went in, I thought there was no coming back, which is really, really disappointing. But does that surprise you with the team we put out on the pitch? It's a very, very, very inexperienced team. I'm not sure if Celtic have ever put out a team so inexperienced in a European tie in our history. I think only McGregor, Eddie and Christie have any kind of European experience. So there'll be a lot said about the back four and the young age of the back four. But, throughout the team, Soro and Turnbull don't have much by way of experience. The keeper hasn't, and the right winger's obviously a young lad. So 3 players with experience going into that tie. I know we were the favourites after the first leg, but are we really, really surprised that we went out tonight? The opposition were celebrating like they'd won the Champions League at the end, and that speaks volumes. It shows you that they didn't expect to win that, and we were the favourites, and yet here we are, we've blown it.
Hold on.
Paul's blown it as well.
I'm coming back. Can you still hear us?
I can still hear you, mate. Aye.
Right, I'll fix the camera problem in 2 seconds. Scott, the game started really cagey, as Martin said, and not a lot of chances. I thought Midtjylland offered really very little up until the second half of the game tonight. But for us, we didn't create anything in the first half either, and you were just waiting for us to come up with something, and lo and behold, we did. And what a goal for Callum McGregor. I'm so disappointed that goal hasn't ended up on the winning side tonight, because it's one of the best bits of technique I've ever seen for a Celtic player.
It's unbelievable. Like, it's textbook technique in it. Just bit by bit, you could just freeze frame it and take every single movement. As soon as it left his foot, you know it's going to go in. And the defender was so close to him as well. I didn't actually think he was going to get time to get a shot off. But one of the best goals that I've seen in a long time. And do you know what? Just on Callum McGregor, like, that guy's looking like the Callum McGregor of 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I think he's took the captain's role, and he's stepped his game up a bit. I think he knows that he's the main man now. I wasn't 100% sure how he would fit into the captain's role. I knew he was the obvious choice. I knew there wasn't really anybody else who was going to be. I don't think there was a question as to whether he was going to get it. But I think when he was sitting under Scott Brown, he's not going to be the leader that he would be if Scott Brown wasn't there, because you're always in the shadow of somebody. You don't want to overstep the mark. But he seems to really have matured, and I think he's going to be a brilliant captain for Celtic, and he seems to be playing the way that he used to play. Just unfortunate that the back line behind him was so young, and he's got a huge job to do as a captain to try and get us to where we need to be. Playing staff is the biggest problem that we've got, obviously, but I just touching on his goal, absolutely superb. And I think he'll probably do a lot more of that for us this year. Something we didn't really see a lot of last year for Callum.
I think if we see a better goal than that at any point this season, Martin will be doing well. It's just unbelievable technique to take that ball out there on your chest and volley it for that distance into the the top corner. It's unbelievable.
He's got that in his locker, and I love it when he plays further forward, because he's got everything. He's got absolutely everything. He's got good awareness of the players round about him. He's got good use of both feet, and he can finish. He can get us loads of goals if you play him further up the field. So I'm hoping that if you've got Soro and you've got a stronger backline, he doesn't need to be doing running back the way as often as the season progresses, and we can see him playing high up the pitch and closer to the number 10 than the number 6 role. But what a finish! I mean, seen some of the reaction on social media. It was just really powerful words being used over what an excellent goal it was. It was worthy of winning a match, and really gutted for him, because as has been said already, but Scott, he played a captain's role tonight, and he's really grown into that role, and hopefully he'll have a better year this year than he had last year. And what a goal! Well, I'm sure we'll watch that time and time again. We'll not watch the match, but we'll watch that goal time and time again.
Aye, absolutely. I just tweeted before the game finished there how many times we've seen this movie. It's the same every single year, and it just seems like the cast gets worse every single year. Scott, we then go in to, that's a good position in the tie to be one up early in the second half. We're in the ascendancy. Midtjylland bring on Yedika, and there's a 2-minute spell that just changes the course of the whole tie. He puts a half decent cross across the face of the goal. Scott Bain does not deal with it at all. We got the other end of the park, and James Forrest, who's just on, has an absolutely golden opportunity to put us 2-0 up and probably finish the tie. And then 30 seconds later, we've conceded.
You see that happening so often in football, like one massive chance gets squandered and then the other team just go and score because of the whole shift in energy. And disappointing, really disappointing. I think you're talking, the bottom line is, right, fitness is massive, right? Fitness is huge, and I don't think that we were anywhere near it tonight. Like, we were the better team. You look at the first leg, you look at the first half of the second leg, and even the first half of the second half, and we're looking at the team on the ascendancy, or at least the team with the most attacking threat. I didn't really see for Midtjylland a style of how they wanted to consistently create chances. Like, they are physical, and if all they were willing to do was wait for a set piece, I thought that's probably how they were going to get their goal. But it just got to a point in the game where our fitness was so poor that they were just picking us apart, and it was almost like West Ham at the weekend. Do you know what I mean? It's just like you're just expecting another goal to come. But that was probably going to happen. So even by the time it gets to extra time, you're thinking, what is the chances? A back four that's an average age of 12. And see, to be honest, Murray played superb, I think. Honestly, I know, see, for the first goal, their first goal, he should have been way closer to the man for the header. I don't know why he's not putting pressure on that man. I'm not a defender. I can't tell you what he was doing or what he should have been doing, but he should have been closer to the guy. I can tell you that much. But apart from that, I thought he was good in there. And Welsh, I thought, had a good game as well. And Ralston, the first half and the second half, I thought also had a good game. I feel like I'm doing the same positive things about Ralston when I'm on this channel and you hate it, but he had a good game. I thought he was getting to the byline quite a lot.
Aye, it was maybe the best of a not so good bunch tonight, Martin. But in terms of that goal that we lost, it's too easy. It's too easy for me. It's a good one, a good header from Mobile, but it's a deep cross. Deep crosses are really easy to deal with. We know that because we've watched Celtic swing them in for most of last season, and he just runs off Greg Taylor, who switches off, and then he gets in front of Murray as well. And I don't know if Bain can do very much about it, but it's a poor goal to lose.
Well, the cross initially comes from their left, their right hand side, and probably the position of the pitch where Forrest should have been. Forrest had just missed the chance. I'm not entirely sure where he was at the point where the cross came in, but if you watch a goal again, there's yards and yards and yards of space in front of the player. So there's nobody behind him, in front of him, and he has all the time in the world to cross it. Nobody's putting any pressure on him at all. So you would hope that Forrest in that area of the pitch, maybe Ralston if he was pushing up a bit, maybe a Soro, a Turnbull, those types of players would be putting a bit of pressure on the ball, and they didn't. So he had time to pick out his pass, and it was a good cross in the box. But so it should be with the time that he had. And then, as you say, Taylor lost his man, and then the guys in the middle, they weren't alert enough to the time of the run, and the player closer to the goal scorer at the time of the goal was Murray. I don't think the keeper had a chance, to be honest. I think he was on his line, and it was a good header right in the corner, but it was really disappointing, first and foremost, that we allowed the cross to come in. We put no pressure, and it's like Scott said a minute ago, we were still feeling sorry for ourselves, thinking, I can't believe we missed that chance. And you do see it happening time and time again, where the opposing team think, we've been rattled there, let's take advantage. Well, they've all got their heads down feeling sorry for themselves. We weren't alert enough at all. So it's hugely disappointing. But I was as frustrated with the time and space that the attacking player had to put the cross in the first place, Paul, as I was with the goal itself. But as you say, another cross coming into the box and another easy chance. And at that point, that was the second shot on target that they had over the two legs, and it was the second goal. 2 shots, 2 goals, and that's how easy it is for the opposition just now. We're really toothless. All you have to do is get it on target and you score against us.
Aye, the shoe never seems to be in the other foot for Celtic. How often do you watch a Celtic game where it's the other team that passes up chance after chance and we take our only chance and end up coming out victorious? It just never happens. I can barely remember it ever happening in my lifetime. I felt, Scott, that as soon as that equaliser went in, it was uphill for us. And as you said, in terms of the fitness, we went in extra time. We were pathetic in extra time. We done nothing. We done absolutely nothing in extra time, bar lose a goal. Players dead on their feet everywhere you look. Sorrow, Turnbull's just gets hand up in there praying for offside because he's sleeping. And then it comes across and Onyedika finishes it. And it was ominous. It was ominous for me. I knew it was coming, and I was so disheartened with what I watched in extra time for the team. There was just nothing there.
100%. Again, it comes down to fitness. The game plan didn't particularly change, I don't think. I know that we brought on some subs. Ayeti didn't really have much to do. Edouard in extra time, man down.
Edouard for the full game's a man down.
Aye. See when you're playing a full game, right, and we get caught at the back a lot of times. It's frustrating to watch. I want Celtic to play it for the back and to be composed and comfortable playing it for the back. That starts for the goalkeeper. But we're not comfortable. Sometimes at the start of the game, it's paying off, and you're saying that's quite nice actually. And I mean, the aim of the game is you draw them in, you get by them, and your numbers up. But it didn't really pull off for us that many times, and the more the game went on, especially in extra time, it was guaranteeing them the ball, passing it out for the back, putting Scott Bain under pressure, putting a full-back under pressure was guaranteeing them getting the ball. And I don't think Ange's going to change his style of play no matter what time it is in the game. So that's maybe going to happen if we can't get the players that can play in that position technically. But fitness is massive as well. How long has the manager been in here now? Like 6 weeks? But how long has he really had with the players is the big question. Majority of the team maybe only 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Well, the international players, 2 or 3 weeks.
So fitness has got to get picked up massively. But a team like Midtjylland, you'd be expecting we could put 11 players who could at least match them for fitness. Never mind the rest.
Aye, exactly. And I think the thing that's really frustrating over the two legs is, Martin, we more than matched them in terms of chance creation and in terms of attacking play, but we've somehow managed to come out on the losing side. And Scott's talked about some of the better players tonight in terms of the young guys in defence, but Sorrow, who you and I both heaped praise on last week, I thought he was absolutely dreadful tonight. He couldn't control it. He couldn't pass it to a teammate. And as I say, Edouard up front, hopeless. Like probably the worst performance I've ever seen for Odsonne Edouard.
Yeah, and Edouard. Well, I suppose I talked earlier about having chances in the first half. Edouard had the chance and Turnbull had a chance, didn't it? But it was really one and the same, because I think one came from a corner that was after the initial chance, or vice versa. Eddie wasn't getting much service, right? But is that because he's not moving about as much as he should be? And I think it probably was. He wasn't being starved of service. He just wasn't mobile enough. He wasn't the Eddie that we knew of old, who would make space. You know, he would make a run forward and then dummy back and create space for himself. He wasn't doing any of that. He was very lethargic. There's one common issue, right? And it's a fairly obvious one, but we've not talked about it yet tonight, right? So AEK Athens, a Greek team, Cluj, a Romanian team, Ferencvaros, a Hungarian team, and then tonight a Danish team. We're not getting beat by elite teams. We're getting beat by teams that we should be beaten. But the one common issue is that in each of those games, there's been players wanting away, and the club have not released the players. Now, if you were to think positively about the reasons behind that, you would say it's because we want to try and retain the players. We don't want to be a club that sells its best players. I'm now convinced it's not that. I'm now convinced it's a club. So we've never ever been a club that's been out and speculated and spent a lot of money or overspent or spent beyond our budget, and we know the benefits of not doing that. But we've now become a club who won't sell at the right time either. And why is that? It's not because we're trying to hold on to these guys, because more often than not they end up leaving anyway. It's because we're holding out for a bigger price. We're not prepared to accept a smaller price, and we'll hold out and hold out and hold out till clubs panic buy and we get a bigger fee. And I think back to AEK Athens, that was a Boyata show, wasn't it? And they ended up not playing in that game. So
then we lost them for free.
I know. And then Neil Lennon comes out last year after Ferencvaros and tells us half the team don't want to be there. There's players in the dressing room don't want to be there. And here we are again. We're talking about Eddie. He doesn't want to be there. And who else doesn't want to be in that team? I'm really, really worried. I mean, I talked about it earlier on. The inexperience in that team was absolutely incredible. I mean, Abada played well last week, but we can't expect too much of him too soon. He's a young guy, never played out with his own country and his own club, where the area he grew up. This is his first sort of venture, so we can't expect too much from him. And in the back four and the goalkeeper, we've spoke about at length. So you've got Eddie up top, doesn't want to be there. And what does that leave you with? It literally leaves you, and if Sorrow you've talked about, we can't expect too much of him either. Again, he's young and he's learning his trade, so that leaves you with Christie, McGregor and Turnbull. That's all you've got in that team. You've got three players that you can look at and say, yep, they've got the experience, they've got the core ability, and they can turn it on at the top level. They can compete. I know the team we played tonight weren't necessarily a top team, but to play in the Champions League, you need to have some experience or some core capability, and that's all we had in that team was three players. And then you look at the bench for inspiration, and there's nothing on that bench that would inspire you. You're looking at your best options being probably Rogic, Forrest obviously, but Forrest hasn't played enough. Although he did come on and make an impact, but sadly missed a couple of sitters. Not just the one he missed a sitter after that as well. But you're looking at Forrest, and then what you're left with Rogic probably. Finished. And maybe a Yeti. There's nothing there. And then you look at our signings, and this is where I know Scott's talking about fitness, right? But I think regardless of how fit that team was, are they actually good enough? Is that a good enough pool of players that have got enough experience, even if they're as fit as Mo Farah? Is that a good enough team? And the answer to that is emphatically no. So you look at our signings next, and we say, right, we had Abada started, that's great, fantastic, but we had two that are in quarantine. And then the other two that we've signed are sitting on the bench, and we don't think they're anywhere near good enough at this stage to start the game. So we've only brought in one player. After everything that we've been through, we've brought in one player. And it all goes back to the manager should have been brought in February or March, not in June.
Aye, absolutely. You've hit the nail on the head there. The story tonight, we've talked a lot about the game, how it unfolded, both games in the tie, the fact that we were the better team for spells of it, the fact that we created more chances, but at the end of the day, the story of this tie is the story of AEK Athens. It's the story of Cluj. It's the story of Ferencvaros. It'll be the story again next year if we end up in the Champions League qualifiers, because this is how Celtic is run, Scott. It's like we can talk about this every single year and debate whether it's hard to get deals done early and all these excuses that we are hit with every single year. But these ties aren't a surprise for MD. They come at the same time every year. Plan earlier, do the business earlier, organise. Like as Martin says there, we're in this situation because we waited 3 or 4 months on a manager when we probably knew, or at least we should have known, that he wasn't even never going to come anyway. And then the next manager comes in, fighting a losing battle, doesn't even get in the country until midway through June. How can we expect anything different than what we've watched tonight?
No, 100%. I agree with you. We should have went and got Ange if he was even the number 2 behind Eddie Howe. We should have went and got him in February or March. But the bottom line is we held out for the big name who was maybe just using us to try and get a better job, or maybe he was genuinely thinking about taking the job, but with the excuses as to why he didn't take it. I think the board should have been more savvy. Like, the board are meant to be people who run a business, run a huge PLC, and accountancy-wise run it well. But in terms of recruitment, don't particularly run it well. And so that's left us in the lurch. I don't think any of the blame should be laying at the manager's door. Of course, potentially, like, we should have won the game tonight. We should have won the first leg as well. There's maybe things that the manager could have done better, and at the end of the day, it's his responsibility, but it's far too early for him to be getting the blame for recruitment failings. Recruitment failings is really the bottom line. On top of what I've said before, fitness. But again, both of the things come down to what players are you putting on the park. The young boys actually look the fittest, but they're the most experienced. So, the least experienced.
Mm-hmm.
Nightmare.
Aye, it is a nightmare. And Martin, the worst thing about it is we never learn. We never learn.
No, we never learn, and it's at both ends, because we don't want to spend the money because we're holding out to get the cheaper option, and we don't want to sell on because again we're holding out to get the bigger amount of money. So it all comes back to money and the club's ambition. And 4 years in a trot's, unforgivable. We've not learned a lesson, after the first year or the second year. Last year the manager called it out, and where do you go from here? We're back to Sunday games now.
Sorry to interrupt. You could go back further than that, though. If you discount the Rodgers years, where we had a manager that was far and away above a level that we should have had. You could go Maribor, Molde. For as that the last comment said, for the best part of a decade, the club's been run shambolically. Yeah,
it's not a new thing. I mean, you look at some of our big signings. Someone posted the other day about Henrik Larsson on this day, and it was only 2 days ago. So we do leave the signings late. We've always done it, and sadly, it's just what's it. This feels the worst ever because of the shambles that were in last year, where how weak the squad was, and obviously one or two have been moved on. Ayer's been moved on, but the club are they're not together at all. And we started off talking about the captain and McGregor. I feel really, really, really sorry for him, because what's he got round about him? We've got practically nothing. And the two big signings that we've made most recently, I do think they'll come out and make an impact, but we need an awful lot more than that. And for a lot of these positions now, we don't have cover. I mean, you need 22 players, don't you? 22 players who can all start, and you'll feel quite confident that the team's not significantly weakened. But we're struggling right now to get a good 11, never mind a good 22. So there's a long, long way to go with regards to the chequebook. And I don't know, Celtic, are they holding out to hope they get the Champions League so they know what money they've got to spend? It's the opposite way to do it. You need to spend to get in the Champions League, and yet we sit and wait and wait and wait. Some of these players now, Christie included, and Eddie, they're more likely to want away because they're not going to get to play Champions League football. So, and again, what's the chance of attracting players who would maybe want to come and play at that top level? We've lost that opportunity as well. So, a really sad night. I was saying earlier, that's us back to Sunday football, which again the fans don't like. They want to go out and enjoy their Saturday games at home. So here we are again playing Sunday football, and depends how far on in the competition we get as well. We didn't feature very well last year in the Europa League, so will we do any better this year when we're struggling to compete with the bread and butter stuff with the league, and that's going to be really, really important this year that we put in a good show in the league. So the board are going to have to spend big time. They're going to have to get players in quickly, and there's no point in bringing players to put them on the bench. 2 lads from Sheffield Wednesday, I'm not convinced. I know they've had a little bit of game time, but I'm not convinced they're anywhere near ready. No. So we've really brought in 3, haven't we? We've brought in 3, and we need a lot more than 3.
Aye, we need a damn sight more than 3. That's the big thing tonight. I said this in the starting 11 prediction yesterday, that the mood around the whole club could have changed with a victory tonight, and we could have went into Saturday at Tynecastle without any fans, by the way. Tynecastle, I know it won't be full because of the COVID restrictions, but Celtic fans, there won't be any of us there. So that is now a even more difficult game than it was if we'd won tonight, because the whole mood around the club for the next few days is going to be really, really low. But listen, I think we've come to expect this season after season. That's it for tonight. Like this video, comment with your own thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you shortly for Twitter reactions, and then we'll be back at the weekend to build up to that first game at Tynecastle. Cheers.